Thanks for checking out my video. If you want to learn more from me, I have a lot of classes on Udemy. You can find the links to a lot of those in the description.
Okay, so as long as my phone doesn't lag while I'm trying to make this, let's talk dimensions and spirits and perception and such. Basically, we're going to be talking metaphysics, jazz beyond physics, and we're going to touch on, I want to say string theory, but that doesn't exactly apply. So, yeah, physics and such. Okay, so we exist on 4 dimensions, right? You got length, width, height, and time. Anyone that says, we're moving into 4D or we're moving into 5D, get over it. That hippie jazz, as I like to call it, you're funny. Whatever. I have a chip on my shoulder about that, but I'm actually in my car. I'm nowhere near my soapbox. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know what my soapbox is. By the way, my laptop my Mac bit the dust last week. Turned it on, when I was using my newer computer to record something, and the screen was just foobar. So I'm gonna have to figure out, time and energy-wise about getting back to making, videos where you see my face. But as far as for now, this works really well for churning out content as well as the podcast. You guys can check out my website and stuff in the description for the podcast and whatnot. It's available on Spotify and other places where podcasts are. But anyways, so we exist in 4 dimensions: length, width, height, and time. So people don't exactly consider time to be a dimension, but newsflash, it is, because without time, nothing would move. So we have this physical reality that we see, which is brought to you by the first 3 dimensions, and then time is what allows it to change. So when we're working magic and we're working with spirits and such, we are arguably, according to just, my brain theorizing stuff, and let me know what you guys think about this, we are playing around with the energies and things that influence those dimensions and arguably more. So let's touch on spirits first, right? So we as physical beings exist in the first 4 dimensions. Now, if you think of the way that things have happened with spirits, influencing things like throwing a cup around or knocking a door or pulling open a drawer and things like that, we can extrapolate that hypothetically those beings exist at a different dimension. We're going to arguably call it a higher dimension because we have the first through the 4th that we exist in, and let's say something exists on the 5th, okay? Think about that for a second. Now, think about this. Something that exists on a 2-dimensional plane where all they see is flat would not be able to see us because we have height in our 3rd dimension, and we would be able to perceive a change in their state because of our existence in the 4th dimension. So someone looking at something from a lower dimension, from a higher dimension, can see more. So something that exists on in a 2-dimensional space cannot experience the 3rd dimension. But someone that exists in the 3rd dimension can experience the 2nd and the 1st. So something that exists in a higher dimension than us can experience and interact with our dimensions, but we cannot experience them unless there is some crossover. Hope you guys understand what I'm trying to get at, so I'm going to reword it here. So we exist in 4 dimensions. If there are spiritual entities, arguably, that exist in this thing that we exist in, let's say that they exist on the 5th dimension and above, they can interact with us, because they can interact with anything lower. Now, when they are able to touch on our reality and interact with us by moving objects or communicating what we would term as telepathically, through our mind, through our subconscious, or interacting with physical objects, that's when we can experience them. They have to touch down on our plane in order for us to interact with them. Now, arguably, our physical senses and stuff only allow us to experience those 4 dimensions. But if you extrapolate that we have more senses than just the typical 5, sight, smell, touch, all that jazz, which I think we do, then we can experience those other dimensions. Now, the thing is that our normal five senses only experience these four dimensions. And then any sense that we have above that must hypothetically be able, or could hypothetically be able to experience the dimensions above the four. And this is how we can interact with spirits. So we can touch on the fifth dimension, sixth dimension, whatever you want to call it, wherever these beings exist, and then they can interact with us, or vice versa. Either way, contact is made through like evocations, invocations, and different spiritual interactions. Hope this is making sense. Now, if you look at a lot of different writings and stuff about spirits, some of them tell you that they exist on a hierarchy where some are higher than others. Could this be an idea, or could this tie into the idea that some beings are higher in dimension than others? If you look at something like the Kabbalah, right? You have Malkuth at the bottom and Kether all the way at the top. And you go from a state of most physical to at the bottom to non-physical at the top. If we take this idea and tie in this whole thing I'm talking about with dimensions, then you have the first three dimensions at Malkuth at the bottom. And then you get more and more and more and more dimensions as you go to the top, to the less physical, to the more energetic, and to the less definable, and arguably the less perceivable, which is why you have Ein Sof and Ein Sof Or at the top, surrounding it, which is the most outermost kind of stuff. And there's different beings on all of the spheres, and you can arguably interact and grow to be able to interact with all of the spheres that are above Malkuth. Now, if those are different dimensions, and we can train ourselves to work at those different levels and perceive at those different levels, then we are arguably interacting with other dimensions. Now, think of it this way, we can't physically go there because our physicality is locked into these four dimensions, but mentally and spiritually, given that, our astral bodies and even our thoughts and the fact that we can think about memories and form entire macrocosms and stuff in our heads, that's all arguably non-physical, which is why we can interact with those different planes of existence when we do astral traveling or journeying or things like that. But we are locked into the present moment, and at least with our physicality and stuff, which is why time travel in this sense, at least without a DeLorean or what have you, is arguably impossible. But can we travel in the past with memories? Yes. Can we interact with other beings on other, quote, dimensions through our psychic skills and being able to perceive things and train ourselves to perceive those things? Yes. So I hope you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here, where spirits could exist on these different dimensions, and it is possible to interact with them. I'm trying to paint you guys a picture of how this functions hypothetically, because a lot of times if we can wrap our heads around this, then it's easier for our conscious and our subconscious to grab it and be more open to the idea, and then it opens up the possibilities for experience. So when we build our ability to meditate and clear our minds, when we build our ability to have clear intent, and we work with magic, with sympathetic magic and ceremonial magic and low magic and high magic and stuff, and we make that call it to the universe to say, this is what I want to have happen, that sets the whole vibration kind of thing out into the universe, which arguably echoes through the four dimensions that we are in and into higher ones. And then you get that bounce back of, you send that vibration up to the universe, it vibrates likewise, and then the intent and stuff manifests its way from more energetic down to the physical, arguably, for lack of a better analogy, from Kether down to Malkuth. So I even don't like the term of vibration, because I also find that to be more hippy-dippy, but your energy, like attracts like. basically. So when we make that energetic call to the universe with our magic, it goes all the way from physical to non-physical and then manifests from non-physical to physical. So does it go up through the dimensions to somewhere that it's able to bounce back from, or it gets a response from like the all, from, the thoughts of the Kabbalion, or, the God mind or the universal mind or what have you? Hypothetically, this could be the case. Just a very interesting thought on this kind of stuff this morning. But do I think that there are other dimensions out there and that's where these spirits exist and how we can interact with them and stuff? Yes. Could they be on a hierarchy of things depending on what dimension they are as opposed to our own? Like there's some on the 5th dimension, then the 6th and 7th and 8th and da-da. Yes. That's what I am currently thinking about. Let me know what you guys think about this one. I know it was a heavy brain dump, but yeah. Let me know what your experiences are with spirits and stuff, and if you think that they exist on a different dimension, or where do you think they exist? How do you think we are able to interact with them, or they are able to interact with us? Anyways, good hunting.
Thanks for watching my video. So if you want to check out my playlists, I have, among others, the Simon Necronomicon, the Tree of Life, General Magic, Tulpamancy, a playlist on my books, the elements, stones, the theories that govern magic, and the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia. If you want to check out my books on Amazon, I have Creating Consciousness, Magical Mechanics, Magical Theater, Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Movement, which is an update and expansion upon Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Mastery, which is a combination masterwork of Magical Theater and Magical Mechanics, and The Guide to the Spheres and Beyond. You can also find me on Facebook at Magickology YT. You can email me at priestofthenecro@gmail.com, and you can even check out my Instagram, which is Magickology. And good hunting.